If you own a GP100, then you may have noticed that after firing quite a few rounds through it, that your cylinder no longer spins that easily, and the extractor here kind of sticks. I try to keep mine in pretty well repair, so mine actually feels very fluid and spins quite easily. But I'll go ahead and show you how you can clean this up, because it's not exactly apparent how to remove the cylinder on this gun. Alright, when I come back, the gun will be disassembled and I'll just have the cylinder. My GP100 is disassembled, and what I have in front of me is the cylinder assembly, as the instruction manual will show you how to get this far. The instructions do not go any further, and you may notice that the cylinder does not pop off of here freely. You have your extractor here, and then your cylinder can spin on the crane arm, but it's not exactly apparent how to get all this apart. If you look closely, this hole here on the top of the crane is actually a plunger, and if you stick something small in here and depress it, it will allow you to push this pin out from this side. Here's the other side. So you're going to need, I use 2 small Allen keys, just 2 small tools should do the trick. So place your tool in the top, push the plunger. Actually, before I do that, once you remove this pin here, this spring lock, the cylinder latch here, is going to pop out. I'll show you the orientation so you know how to put it back later on. Okay. There you go. My tool wasn't small enough. And as I said, the latch popped out. Keep track of your pins. This is the pivot pin for the latch that we pushed out. The plunger is still in the hole here, and this is the spring for the latch. Place these aside. For reference, when your crane is like this, when your cylinder assembly is like this, the latch is going to go like this. The square jagged end up top, the rounded end on the bottom, the flat end facing forward. So we'll go over that again later on. Now that those parts are out, you can slide the ejector out, and at this point you can remove the cylinder from the crane. Just sort of give it a pull. There you go. It may take a bit of pulling. As you can see, the little cylinder spindle here has ball bearings, one on each side, sort of to help it spin smoothly. And also you can see mine's fairly clean. If you don't keep this clean, then what happens is carbon residue will build up in here so that the cylinder doesn't spin on here freely. And when that doesn't happen, you'll be fighting it in your trigger pull, because part of the double action pull is rotating this into place so that the next chamber is behind the forcing cone. So if there's crud in there causing it to stick and bind up, then you're having to fight that as well as any spring pressure. So it's in your best interest to keep this nice and clean so that your gun will feel smooth. So to remove this requires a special tool. See if I can. You'd need a flathead screwdriver with the center section cut out. It is thread locked in, torqued to a specific torque, and I honestly just would recommend not messing with it. What I would recommend is, when you get this all together, go ahead and stick your extractor in here and clean underneath here. You want to keep this nice and clean. I like to use a Q-tip and clean in here just to keep it nice and clean. But really, you don't need to excessively oil this, because it will just attract more crud and cause it to bind up more. So just maybe wipe it down with an oily rag, and that should be sufficient. To reassemble, it's just in reverse order. Snap the cylinder back on. Take the ejector plunger or ejector rod. The end that has the slit all the way to the end goes up and in first, like so. Drop your spring in there before you drop this in there. Then you're going to take your little spindle here, put it in on this side, but of course it won't go until you depress this plunger. So depressing the plunger and sort of squishing down on this little spring here should allow it to go in all the way. And it may take you a few tries to get this. It's really not that hard. I've done it a few times, so it's not that hard for me, but you want to function check, make sure that you have spring pressure on this. Depress the other cylinder lock here, and by doing so, you should see this move inward. It does. Everything's functioning. Should spin fairly freely. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time doing that as it just causes unnecessary wear, but there you go. Everything seems okay. I'll leave it to you guys to assemble the rest of the gun, but hope that was informative. Y'all have a good one.